Hey guys, I'm back at the project shop. Why? Because I'm finally picking up, there she is, the BCG BMW E30, all sorted and ready to hit the road again. Oh man, I have missed this car. I can't wait to get back behind the wheels. But before we do that, let's find out what actually has been done to the car and why it took so long to get it back.
Hi, I'm Steve from the Classic Project Shop, and we've got Shaz's BMW here, and we'll just go through what we've been doing and basically why it's taken so long. So the first problem we had was a damaged wheel, which we're not quite sure how that's come about, but it's got some wheel nuts had opened up the holes in the wheel, and we'll have a look at that in a minute, but that meant the wheel was basically unrepairable. So no problem, we'll get a second-hand one. We got a nice one off eBay, looked good, had it cleaned up, put the tyre on, but unfortunately the wheel itself was porous. So take two, and we've now got one back on. So that took a little bit of time. The hub was damaged, where the bolts had basically come loose, we believe, allowing the wheel to move, which had opened up the holes in the wheel, which we can see. But whilst it was doing that, it was putting load on the bolts, which was also fretting away on the thread in the hub. So it actually damaged the thread in the hub. So the only real safe way was to get ourselves another hub. But in the meantime, we were trying to solve another problem on the instrument panel. The odometer wasn't working, the temperature gauge wasn't working. So that went off to a specialist, and the odometer wasn't too bad, but the temperature gauge revolved around a PCB needing to be repaired, and that took quite a long time. So unfortunately, waiting for parts, like the rest of the world's automotive business, affected us as well. So at the back of the instrument panel is one big printed circuit board, rather than the individual clocks that were sort of more popular earlier on. And in between that there's various resistors, small silicon chips, things. One of those are burnt out, that had to be replaced. So this is the wheel that came off, and you can see that the bolt has elongated the hole through the wheel fretting, and that had in turn actually caused the bolt to fret in the hub as well. I mean, this could be repaired if this was the only one in the world. You'd aluminium weld this back up and then remachine the centres. But the time and the cost of the effort for this, with what is a relatively available wheel second-hand, is not really worth the effort. And this is our one that on the face of it looks very nice, but wherever it is, it's slightly porous. And again, that could have been resealed and repaired by a wheel specialist, but much quicker to get another one from good old eBay.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do with these wheels now?
Well, I would say that one's quite artistic, especially with the elongated holes. I would clean that up and turn it into a nice coffee table, put a glass piece over it. In fact, if you did the same with this one, you could have two coffee tables. Work of art.
So I'm just trying to figure this out. So the hub itself, I think, was 65. I bought this one for about 150. What was the other wheel? How much was that one?
I think that was a bit less from memory, but I can't really quite remember.
Okay. And was that refurbished as well?
I think we just cleaned up the front.
Uh-huh. So there were no chips or scratches on that one?
No, that was quite a nice one, and it was fairly round. Because what the problem
fairly round is a good thing. Round would be nice.
Round is nice. What you often get with alloy wheels, especially sort of ones with larger offset, is they get slightly distorted, and they don't actually run true. Often you don't notice it when it's on the car, but when you actually spin it up and put a measure around the edge, you'll see there's a very slight wobble. But that one's quite good. So and you can see this one's actually had a bit of
that has
some damage in there from perhaps previous curbing.
So going back again, because I'm slightly concerned now as to how this actually occurred, because we were talking about this earlier, and basically we're saying that the only way it could have occurred is if the nuts had been loosened, or if the wheel had been replaced and the nuts hadn't been tightened. But then the whole time I've had the car, the wheel hasn't been taken off.
Well, that's right. It's a bit of a detective thing of what's actually happened. As you say, if the wheels had been loosened and not torqued up, then that would have happened quite quickly. But you've been driving it for quite some time. There is a possibility that the studs may have stretched over time, but again, it seems a bit strange that all four have gone at the same time. Difficult to know.
If anybody else out there has any ideas, I'd love to hear them, because I'm just slightly concerned now, because then the only alternative to that is something nefarious, that somebody's actually tampered with the car.
Well, that is another possibility, and I would say it's very difficult to actually say with confidence what the answer is.
But as you say, because the key thing that struck in my mind is you said that if you would know within 20-30, and I realized the problem with the wheel when I was going to Bicester, which was on the way to here, actually, fortunately enough, and it was about probably when I was halfway up the motorways, and we're about 50 miles from London, so yeah, about 20-25 mile mark is when it started to become apparent, which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I've driven the car tons before that.
Yeah, no, that's right. So it would sort of imply that they haven't come loose. Could be a potential with the bolts having started to stretch, and over a period of time it stretches so much that it starts to relieve the tension on the bolt, and then they come loose. I really don't know, and a lot of the theories that you can come up with probably are difficult to substantiate. Yeah. There's a lot of what ifs. Yeah. Another one that often happens is when you've had a wheel refurbished and repainted, everything's tightened back up, and then the paint just starts to contract very slightly, and that relieves the tension on the wheel nut, and then the wheels come loose. So if you are getting your wheels refurbished after I say a good couple of journeys, 20-30 miles, just go round and torque them all back up again.
But again, if that had been the case with this, I would have found out much earlier.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I put a fair bit of miles on the car before.
Yeah. And as it is, we've done a bit of miles with them, and then we've retorqued them up.
So the car's all good now, it's all good to go. So by the way, just to complete the cost, the instrument panel, it cost me just under, a fraction under £400 to get that done. And the reason for that, I guess, because of the lack of availability of the circuit boards.
Yeah, there was that, and the time. It actually takes quite a bit of time to take apart. We had to send it off to a specialist who took that apart, dismantled it, unsoldered the bits that needed to be done, as well as sorting out the small wheels on the odometer.
Continue to follow #BCG BMW E30. More adventures with this car coming up. Now it's back on the road. I'm so happy to be getting back behind the wheel of this thing. Thank you so much to Steve, Simeon, and all the team here for working on the car once again. Project Shop, that's the place to come. Yeah. Where are you guys?
We're in Bicester, just in Bicester town, away near to Bicester Heritage, so not far from where quite a lot of classic car meets take place. Look forward to seeing people.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.